Hello and welcome to the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, the largest institution in the United States devoted to the arts, sciences, and artists of movie making. The Academy Museum of Motion Picture acknowledges the Tongva people as the traditional caretakers of the water and land on which we program, curate, educate, convene, and discuss. We honor and respect Tongva ancestors and the Tongva community today, which continue to nurture this land and water through traditional practice, activism, art, and education. We also acknowledge their continued work to safeguard cultural resources. My name is Lahani Cook, and I'm the Manager of Public Engagement here at the museum. Thank you for joining us in our David Geffen Theater for the animated feature film presented as a part of our Oscar nominee spotlights. Oscar nominee spotlights are made possible by the Ruderman Family Foundation. Oscar nominee spotlights is presented thanks to Afila by Sony Honda Mobility and additional support provided by Clarendelle and Domaine Clarence Dillon and Champagne Lallier. Academy Museum Film Programming, generously funded by Richard Roth Foundation. I would like to thank our ASL interpreters who will be assisting today. Their names are Romina Mena, Mara Bassani Santa Maria, and Abiu Zuniga. Nominee programs bring select screenings of Academy Award-nominated shorts and panels with Academy Award-nominated filmmakers in the lead up to the 97th Oscars to the Academy Museum for the public. We have additional nominee programs later this week, including panels with the nominees from categories of Best Picture, International Feature Film, Makeup and Hairstyling, and more. The 97th Oscars will be held on Sunday, March 2nd, 2025, at the Dolby Theater at Ovation Hollywood and will be televised live on ABC and streamed live on Hulu. Before we begin our program, please silence, darken, and stow your mobile devices, including phones and smartwatches. Now, please help me in welcoming to the stage Michael Benedict, Director, Member Relations, and Awards Administration, who will share more about the Academy nomination and process.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Benedict, and I am the Director and Liaison of the Animation Branch and Categories. Tonight, we will be presenting clips of the nominated films, followed by panel discussions with the nominees. So, how did we get to the 5 nominees? Animated feature films can qualify by either meeting the Academy's theatrical release standards or being submitted in the International Feature Film category as a country's official selection. When the nominations voting round opens, all voting Academy members may participate in selecting the 5 nominees through a preferential ballot. When selecting the winner, Academy members choose one of the nominated films on their ballot. All rounds of Oscars voting are tabulated by the independent accounting firm of PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC. Finals voting closed on Tuesday, and we will find out which one of these 5 films will take home the Oscar next Sunday, live on ABC and streaming live on Hulu. Now, while I am just one person representing the Membership and Awards Department, I want to give a very special thank you to my partners in crime, Lauren McPhee and Billy McClellan. They work closely with the category and the corresponding members. I truly appreciate your hard work and dedication. This event and award are simply not possible without both of you. Thank you so much for everything you do year-round. We also have a fantastic staff behind the scenes. Nobody can do these events alone, so I feel so lucky to be part of such a magnificent group of people who cherish movies and each other. It's a bunch of film nerds back there. I love it. Lastly, I want to thank all the Academy members who volunteer their time to view and vote. Please know how much we appreciate you and your dedication to cinema. You are experts in your craft who uphold the highest standards of filmmaking. Thank you so much for your commitment. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce the Animation Branch governors and moderators for tonight's panels. Jinko Goto is currently serving as vice chair. She was nominated for an Academy Award for her work on the animated feature film Klaus. Some of her other credits include The Lego Movie Part 2, the second part, The Little Prince, The Illusionist, and Finding Nemo. Jinko is currently producing the next animated Spider-Man film titled Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, which is in production now. I would like to introduce the chair of the animation branch, Marlon West. For over 30 years, Marlon has worked as an animator and head of visual effects at Walt Disney Feature Animation Studios. Some of his credits include Encanto, Moana, Frozen, Frozen 2, Princess and the Frog, and The Lion King. Probably have never heard of any of those movies. Marlon is currently hard at work on Disney's upcoming Zootopia 2. So with that, please give a very warm welcome to the Academy's animation branch governors, Jinko Goto and Marlon West.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes, thanks, Michael. And welcome here tonight. Thanks for sticking around and enjoying these clips and this fellowship with our nominees. We are the governors of the animation branch. I'm Marlon West.
And I'm Jinko Goto, the governors of our animation branch. So we've had an exciting morning earlier today where we showed the 5 nominated shorts. And we're very excited to show and speak with our feature nominees tonight. So I want to thank, first of all, more than the 700 animation branch members who were in the process of nominating these films.
These films have been derived from 31 eligible feature films from all around the world, and our members helped whittle it down to the 5 wonderful films we're going to celebrate tonight.
Right. And they, and they include very different techniques from CG animation, stop motion, and hand-drawn animation, and represents countries from Australia, Latvia, United Kingdom, and the U.S.
Now, every time I'm allowed up here, I make the same point about animation is an art form, not a genre. Sometimes people think of it as a genre of itself, and often a kid's genre. But you're going to see tonight that these films tackle a whole lot of different issues and in a lot of different genres, from a crime story to science fiction to comedy and romance. So I hope you enjoy them, and so we want to get the show going. I'm anxious to talk to these filmmakers. So please enjoy the clip of our first nominated film, Flow.
Are you going first?
Wasn't
Right,
that
all
great?
right.
I thought
Yeah, it was super cool.
so. Super, super cool.
So this is one of the perks about
Yeah, so we're...
being a governor. You get to talk to these folks,
Okay,
these wonderful films.
So we are looking for Gins, our filmmaker of Flow. Come on.
Hello.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats. This is so exciting for me because I remember the last time we did this, we were at Annecy in 2019, where I gave you the Contretemps Award.
Thank you so much for that.
I know. Feels
Together
like,
again.
Together again.
Yeah.
So I know this is Latvia's first Academy Award nomination in 2 categories. So what does it feel like? What do people feel like at home? How do you feel? What were your reactions that morning when you were nominated for 2 Academy Awards?
Yeah, it felt very special, of course, because it's the first time in Latvia, so people are really excited about it, and I think it helped this film to become the most watched film ever in Latvia in cinema. So, and that's just great that like independent animation can reach such a big audience, and yeah. So I was with my dog during the announcement, and that helped me to kind of because it's a very stressful moment, and to have a dog by your side can kind of help you calm down a little bit.
What is your dog's name?
Her name is Audrey.
Audrey. Oh, nice.
Oh, cool. So, animation is often full of a lot of dialogue and songs and jaunty jokes, but you have a film with completely devoid of dialogue. And can you tell me about that choice?
Yeah, as you said, animation can be all kinds of things. So it wasn't even a choice for me because all the films I've made are without dialogue, so it was kind of a given. And yeah, this allows me to express the story with images and sounds and music and animation, and I can push them a lot further. And I also wanted to tell a story with these characters behaving like real animals instead of speaking. And I think this makes the story a lot more emotional and engaging and intense because we really care about these animals. On the first image, we see the cat looking at its reflection in the water, and we added the cutest sound we could. And this immediately connects you with this character, and we care for them. So if it would be humans, I don't think we would care about them as much. But yeah, we can see our own pets because it's also not rendered like hyper-realistically. So we imagine our own pet going through this because we have to fill in the gaps of information through the style with our own experiences. And yeah, so it's just my favorite films are very visual and very kind of experience driven. So that's what I wanted to do, to create an emotional experience.
So cool, thanks.
Yeah, so we're going to change topics a little bit. Being a producer, I want to ask a question. So how did you finance this film? I think you did some crowdsourced financing, you built your own studio. Can you talk about that whole process of how you managed to get this film done?
It's not crowdsourced, but yeah, there are many sources. As often these independent films have to, find many sources, and it's 3 countries: Latvia, France, and Belgium. Latvia is the biggest part, but yeah, we're very fortunate to have grants for filmmaking, and we got funding from each of these places, but also different streamers and TV channels and yeah, but the budget is very modest, so I think that's why we were able to do it, for them to trust us on such an unconventional project, because yeah, it's kind of hard to pitch a film without dialogue, and I'd never done this before working with a team, but yeah, I think with a smaller budget, I think people had more trust in us, and yeah, it took a long time. We had to build our own studio, and we had to hire everyone. We had to teach them, because there isn't a big film industry in Latvia. There is, of course, but it's we're just building it now, I think, and so there's no animation school. So we had to basically teach people how to do it, and I was learning it myself. And but yeah, this has really kind of put the wind in the sail in the industry. So I think we're gonna keep going.
That's really cool.
How many years did it take you?
It took 5 years, but
Wow.
that's average for animated films.
No, but that's why I asked this question.
And-
Regardless whether you're doing it with yourself or a small team or with
Yeah,
hundreds of people.
that includes writing and developing and funding. So the actual production was less than a year, so it's pretty fast.
Wow.
No, that's really cool. Well, it's really impressive that you were both director and professor of your own animation academy to make this film. I'm going to go back to animals if we can. You have a collection of cohorts that your main character meets along the way. I don't want you to feel obligated to explain everything about this film, but can you talk a little bit about the collection of animal characters that you introduced?
It all started with the cat, because the idea of a cat being afraid of water is something we don't need to explain to anyone. It works without dialogue, and this allows us to tell the story without a hero or a villain. It's really cat versus nature kind of a story. So yeah, that started because I had cats growing up, and I inspired a short film I made in high school, which this is kind of adapted from. And I've also had dogs, one of which I mentioned earlier. So that's those are the inspiration of the dog. And the dog is like the opposite of the cat. The cat starts out being very independent and then learns to trust others, like I was while making this film. I used to work alone. This is my first time working with a team, so kind of like what Cat's doing. But yeah, the dog is the opposite, and it starts out being very trustful and always looking for someone to tell them where to go, but then it learns to be more independent. I just wanted to show the positives and negatives of each of these aspects, but each of them are kind of chosen based on the theme, that they're looking for a place they belong or a group that accepts them, and they each have their own journeys, and they change, and hopefully they're not one-dimensional, and this makes, like, they're flawed, which makes them interesting. But yeah, it's kind of complicated to make an ensemble story without dialogue, to have each of them have enough attention, and they're also supporting or challenging the cat, but they also are kind of stand on their own.
That's really cool. Now, I'm an animal person. I have both cats and dogs at home, and you have a really cool, heroic dog character, but you got some annoying dogs in this movie, too.
Yeah, they remind me of my dogs, actually.
Yeah, well, they kind of represent that following just a group without really considering things. But yeah, we also have a really nice dog, so hopefully it balances that out.
Cool.
Your dog.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so going back to you making this film, your first film away, you did this all by yourself, from writing to animating to scoring and editing and all that, right? So what was it like to work with a team? What was that process like? Not just process, but emotionally, psychologically. How did you make that transition?
Yeah, so making away was kind of my unofficial film school. I didn't actually study filmmaking, but I wanted to do all these tasks so that I would understand what everyone's doing. And now that I'm working with a team, I also know my strengths and weaknesses, and I know that animation, character animation in particular, isn't something that I'm great at, so I was very happy to give that to others to do. And but with other things like the music, I kind of wanted to be involved, just because I really enjoy the process, but also it helps me to understand the story. So I write the initial themes while still writing the script before it's really kind of, before the clay has hardened and I can still mold it. And so the music is really important because there are some scenes which are really, I have the music first, and then I decide the visuals and the story kind of around the music. And but yeah, so I had to learn how to articulate my thoughts, because when I'm working alone, I can just make it. But now I had to make sure everyone understands it. And sometimes that's possible, but other times it's much easier to show rather than tell. So I create some sketches or 3D models or music, and that can explain a lot more than I can with words.
And were all your crew based in Latvia, or did you have crew elsewhere as well?
Yeah, it's 3 countries, and in Latvia we did everything except character animation and sound design, and those are done in France and Belgium.
So you actually went to France to direct the animation, or?
I went there a bunch of times, but mostly it was remote, so because I also had my team in Latvia, but it worked out very smoothly, and now I think we're kind of used to working remotely.
Great.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you so much.
And congratulations.
Congratulations and good luck on
Thank you.
Sunday. So next up will be Inside Out 2.
We'll be right back.
We need to help Riley prepare. Now's the time to send up every possible thing that could go wrong. We are looking to the future. Every possible mistake she could make. Come on, 17. I'm not seeing anything from you. Riley misses an open goal. Coach writes back in our notebook. Yes! More like that.
Oh no, they're using Riley's imagination against her.
Val and her friends like us now, but if we don't make the team, will they like us tomorrow? Okay, let's go to number 3. Reed and Grace's team win, and we look stupid. Number 22, Val passes to us, and we miss it.
We can't let her do this to Riley. We have to shut this down.
Love it, 37. Riley hits the puck into her own net.
Why are you drawing a hippo?
I'm not. I'm drawing Riley. Joy, you forgot her ponytail. Oh, I love her ponytail. Yes.
Riley scores and everyone hugs her? 81. That is not helping.
Riley paints her nails to match her jersey. Everybody copies her, and she is so cool.
Riley wears knee pads. We buy flowers for the losing team. What? I can't always be the rage guy.
No, I liked it.
Nail polish knee pads? I'm starting to think you guys don't understand the assignment. What? What? Who sent that projection to Riley?
Why would I know that?
Ugh. What is going on? Who is sending all of this positive? Joy, I know you're in there. The mind police are on their way.
Well, I think we gave it our best shot.
Don't listen to anxiety. She's using these horrible projections to change Riley.
Joy, I'm doing this for you. This is all so Riley can be happier.
If you wanted her to be happy, then you'd stop hurting her. Who's with me? Really? Nothing?
Sorry, Joy.
Yeah, I see you, 87. A cat. A little off topic, but I'll take it.
And you're good to go.
All right.
Well, that was fun.
I feel like I should run out here.
Yeah.
We're wasting time.
And now we have 2 seats.
Now we have two
Two
seats.
seats, yeah.
And so I want to bring out our nominees, Kelsey Mann and Mark Nielsen.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome.
so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Welcome. Congrats. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So this is a follow-up to a very beloved film that it's, the first one was really about a very specific time in the character's life.
Yeah, she was 11.
11 years old, and nailed it. So what was it that made you all want to go back in and reconnect with this character, a little bit older?
Yeah, this all came from Pete Docter, who is the director on the original film, and he's our chief creative officer at Pixar. And it was really the lasting impact that the first film had on people. It kind of feels like that Pete intended to do a sequel, because at the end of the movie, the first one, they extended the console and they added the puberty button, but it was all just for a joke, and
Right.
never intended that there'd be another one, because these movies are so hard to make. To think that you're going to make 2, is too much. And so people kept coming up to him and telling them how much the movie meant to them in their lives and how much it impacted them. He's like, wow, this has really stuck around. And so that got him thinking, I think there might be potential here. And so that's where I had a meeting pop up on my calendar. And it just was like Kelsey, Pete, and Jim. Jim Morris is our president at Pixar. And there was no description of what the meeting was about. It was just like in Jim's office. And I was like, whoa, this is either going to be the best meeting ever.
Or maybe your last.
Or my last one. It ended up being the best. It ended up being the best because that's where he said, I think there's potential there to do another story. I don't have an idea, but I think you'd be a good person to go off and see if there is. And what I love about Pete and what I love about Pixar is he said, if we don't find something we don't get excited about, we won't make the movie.
That's super cool. I know you have the official next question, but I just wanted to ask you, since you ended on that note, how long did it take you to get excited, to come up with something that you all were excited about?
It took a while. Like I think I spent 3 months in the beginning pitching ideas of what we could do. I was going to pitch 3 ideas of what we could possibly do, and I knew one of them would be Riley as a teenager. I go, okay, that's one of the 3 I'm going to pitch. And so I started to research what happens in our brains when we're teenagers, and I brought a lot of experts from the first film. Dacher Keltner was an expert on the first film, and I brought him in, and I asked him what happens in our brains when we're teenagers. And I'll never forget, he was at the table and he leaned back and he was just like, oh, Kelsey, it's so much. Where do I begin?
I'm glad I asked.
And it made me lean forward, and he's like, it's a lot of change. And that got me really excited because I was doing a sequel, and I'm a huge fan of sequels. You can do them really, really well. There's a lot of bad ones, but there's a lot of really great ones. And I actually made a list of all my favorite sequels and a list of sequels I didn't think were as successful. And I tried to analyze, why do I love these and why are these not successful? And I think there was a common thing with the ones I loved. There was a sense of change and of originality. The ones I didn't like, just like, hey, that worked. Let's just run that again.
But different.
Let's just do it again. And the other ones were taking chances, doing something different, growing and changing. So when Dacher, was talking about like, it's so much change, and the idea of like construction started to appear in my head. I wanted a wrecking ball coming through headquarters. And it was all about Riley growing and changing, which I thought would help with telling a good sequel.
Wow. So my second question I was going to ask, you've kind of gave me all the answers to it, but I'm going to ask it again. So what was important to keep from the original story, and what did you want to do different?
Yeah, Kelsey, I know you always wanted to kind of continue Riley's story. People really had talked to us about, like, they want to know what's going on in Riley's life when she's next. And Amy Poehler has such a great line at the end of the first movie about, like, Riley's 12 now. What could happen? So it seemed like following that up and, like, showing people, like, here's what's going on with Riley now was a great place to start.
I made a list of everything that I wanted. I was working at the studio while we were making Inside Out, but I was on another movie. And I'd go to the screenings and I would send my notes and thoughts and everything. But it was kind of cool because I got to be able to see the movie from the perspective of the audience. And so I go, okay, what do I want from an audience perspective? And I made a huge list of stuff that I wanted. I wanted that puberty alarm to go off. I'm like, you set that up. I want to see it go off. And I want to see what happens. And I wanted new emotions. I thought that would be something. That's what I wanted as an audience member, of like, expand the cast. I want to see who else is there. I really wanted, and I wanted to go to new places in the mind that I didn't get a chance to see, which is a big part of that clip that you saw. I also made a list of what I didn't want to do. I haven't talked about this too much. One of the things I really didn't want to do is Bing Bong. I love Bing Bong so much. He's a wonderful character. He has this beautiful sacrifice. And I was like, I will not undo his sacrifice.
Right.
Out of respect of the filmmakers and of Bing Bong. Because what he did, it mattered. And I was not about to bring him back. So I held true to that.
You have a bunch of new characters. Thanks for bringing that up. And, and anxiety is really, it's a huge showcase. But maybe it's because I've even aged out of middle age. So I've been told. But one character that pops up mainly as a joke, but it really resonated with me, is nostalgia.
Oh, remember nostalgia?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah, you're showing up too soon, nostalgia. Go back in the class.
Yeah, she was there from the very beginning. I think we do multiple screenings at the studio, and we just thought it would be so much fun to have a character of nostalgia come out. And there was a story artist that had a wonderful, Dan Park. He had the idea. Did you notice the color of her glasses? They're rose-colored. Rose-colored glasses. I was like, that's brilliant.
And June Squibb is lovely. She's just the greatest. And we had worked with her on Toy Story 4, so bringing her back in her 90s to play nostalgia, she just brings a lot of charm to that character.
She's so lovely to work with. And then I saw Thelma.
Oh,
and I'm like,
yeah.
I'm never going to mess with you.
Don't mess
again.
with June Squibb.
Don't mess with June Squibb.
I saw those like almost like back to back. Thelma, yeah,
It's a great double feature.
wonderful. She,
Yeah.
great.
What I love about nostalgia, one, is fun, but also shows a little bit of what else is out there.
Yep.
You know what? I think good sequels do that too, or good films. Like, you know, there's other things around the corner, you know, and you kind of hint at that. And so she's. We had a scene where they were down in the waiting room, and we actually designed the set and everything that was kind of down there. So she's kind of coming up from there. So I like how she's indicating that there are possible other emotions down there with her.
That's super cool.
So I'm going to ask a producer kind of question. So how did the two of you work together as a directing team here?
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. I had never had the chance to work with Kelsey. I've been at the studio 28 years, but it's really easy to leapfrog each other and be working on different films. So we had never worked on the same film. I had the pleasure of being the associate producer on the first Inside Out. And so Pete and Jonas asked if I would produce the film alongside Kelsey. And so I think we were a good complement to each other because I had relationship with the cast and had kind of been through the development of that story. But Kelsey was coming in as just also a huge fan of the first film and wanting to do something new and different and expand it. Pixar is just such a great place to collaborate, right? Everybody, all the animators, everyone that's working on the film are all on the same campus, working together from the very beginnings of story till your final digital dailies when you approve the last shot. And so we got to rally together for 4 years and lead this team to create this film.
Cool. Did you guys get into any fights?
The two of us?
Yes.
It was pretty I think it was pretty cordial.
No, we did
throughout.
not. No, we did not.
We got along.
Although I do have a scar from the sequence you just watched right now. I was like, my daughter pointed out something in my arm. She goes, "What's that from?" I go, "Oh, that's when I was recording with Maya Hawke." And there's that scene where Riley dives for the puck. And she has to say, and Riley dives and misses it. And she wasn't quite getting it. I go, "No, this is what's happening." And I got up and I dove on the floor so she understood. And I had a little bit like this. I have a carpet rug.
Big carpet burn?
Yeah, a scar right here from that clip right there. So that's the only scar that I've got.
Yeah,
from
wasn't
the film.
me.
And I gave it to myself.
Okay, it wasn't you. Okay.
Worth doing. Well, thank you both so much, and congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, pleasure talking with you guys.
and
Thank
good
you.
luck
Thank
on
you so
Sunday
much.
night.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, so we are up. Next film up is Memoir of a Snail.
We'll be right back.
That's when I first met Pinky. I saw her returning books into a rubbish bin. She thought it was the return chute and had been doing it for months. Excuse me? She was mortified when I explained.
Ah, Pooh.
Don't worry, I won't turn you in.
Oh, thank you, dear. Bless your cotton socks. What's your name?
Grace Puddle.
I'm Pinky. Just Pinky. Like Cher. Or Liberace. Or Prince. Casanova. Popeye. People call me Pinky because of this. Lost it dancing in Barcelona.
Bravo, bravo, señorita!
All right.
Okay, we got to run. Marilyn,
We got a table this time. I wonder what that's about.
Well, we'll find out.
Okay, so I want to bring out the nominees, Adam Elliott and Liz Carney.
welcome from Australia.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Congratulations. And I did not get the animator black
Poor little friend
Nope.
as well.
memo today.
Oh, so cute.
So this is feels like such a personal story and such a often complicated and going all over the place story. What was the genesis of the idea? What was the nugget that actually inspired you all?
Well, it was about 9 years ago almost now. My father passed away, and whenever I start a script, it's usually from a point of anger. And my father was a bit of a hoarder, and he left behind all this stuff for my siblings and I to sort through and clean up. So I was very angry with him, but that then led to curiosity into hoarding and the psychology behind hoarding. Why do we fill our homes with things that we don't need? So I started to talk to psychologists and read a lot of literature, and I discovered that extreme hoarders, more often than not, have had the loss of a child, a sibling, or a twin, and that the hoarding becomes a coping mechanism to deal with all that pain and loss. So that really fascinated me. And also at the time, I was going through all my notebooks and journals that go back 3 decades, and I came across some notes about a friend of mine who was born with a cleft palate. And as a little girl, she had a lot of operations on her mouth and was bullied and teased quite a lot at school. Yet she grew up to be quite a well-adjusted, confident, if anything, quite an extrovert. And now she's a fashion designer in London. So that really interests me. How did she get over that intense trauma as a child to grow up to be this well-rounded, adjusted adult? So I just started writing, and it took 3 years and 16 drafts, and this is how we ended up.
Oh, before I jump, I just wanted to actually compliment you. You mentioned the hoarding, and as soon as you said that, I thought about your opening sequence and just the amount of detail, and that the camera's moving over all of those things, and just throughout the film, the eye for detail and just little things everywhere, and and unlike a live action film where you would send somebody out to actually find a bunch of stuff or go to someone's house, all those things were built and designed. So bravo! But I just wanted to get that in there before.
No, really appreciate that, what you just said, because I think, stop motion is such a tactile craft, right? And so how do you come up with these characters? What inspires the design of these characters? And
well, look, I'm like most animation director writers, I'm a megalomaniac, and so I wear many hats, and writer, director, production designer, storyboard artist. I helped my editor Bill, like Ginst, involved in the music. And, because everything had to be handmade too, I was involved in the making of that too. But it, as you said, it's a very personal film. So I think as an auteur, you have to be involved in every step of the way. And because too, I have so much control and creative freedom in Australia, a bit like Flow, we get our money from the government. So we get final cut. And so we can really go to emotional depth that we would like to go to. We're not just restricted. So of course this film's rated R. There's all sorts of challenges.
Not for children.
Not for children. And I'm so glad you said that animation's not a genre. It's really important that we know that animation's always evolving, and we can tell any story we want, and that's what it's about.
how'd you make that choice where the lead character doesn't talk? What was that choice? How to make that choice?
Financial choice.
Here's a producer talking.
All right.
I mean, I didn't make
Producer
the
to
choice.
producer.
It was suggested as a way to combat budgetary constraints because it's a lot cheaper to have narration than do lip sync.
And also, you notice Grace doesn't have legs, and that's because there's very little walking in the film. Actually, we use the Muppet technique with the characters walking like that. So yeah, our budget was 4.5 million American dollars, so really tiny.
Wow.
Wow.
And I
Extraordinary.
can't. Oh, I'm sorry, Jinko.
I was gonna say, extraordinary to make a film, a whole animated film for $4.5 million.
Yeah, Australians are very resourceful.
Now, I can't think of too many animated films about animators. I thought that was a very delightful aspect of the film, that your main character becomes an animator and a stop motion animator as well. Can you talk a little bit about that choice?
Look, of course, you think of Christopher Nolan's films, where there's the metaverse, and I knew I had to give Grace a job that was unusual, that there weren't many career opportunities. And I also wanted to have her make a film and go to a film festival and have a Q&A just like we're having. So I really wanted to play around with that. And also too, in Australia, there's a real shortage of female stop motion animators. And we only had 7 animators, and we only had 1 female animator, who actually was my cousin Donna. And but also wanted a female animator animating a female animator animating a female animator. So we took a photo of that wonderful.
That's not very meta at all.
I love it.
So, can you talk a little bit about just how much you love the stop motion process? Because that it is. I mean, Jinko and I both have decades of animation experience. I started off doing stop motion, but all of animation is, taxing and in a marathon. But to me, stop motion is such a leap of faith, because you're not setting keyframes. You're animating straight ahead. You all familiar with straight ahead versus keyframing? Okay, good, because I don't mind explaining myself. I love that. Anyway, so can you talk about the kind of what I think of as the leap of faith of stop motion animation?
Nick Park's coming on next, and I know when I was growing up.
Ask him too.
Well, I think it was, when I was at film school 29 years ago, I was told that stop motion was a dying art form and that CGI would kill it. And if anything, it's alive and well now. Guillermo del Toro, of course, Wes Anderson. And I think there's a reaction against just particularly AI now, that people appreciate things that are handmade, that are tangible, tactile. For example, in our film...
Go ahead. Break it down.
For example, all the fire in the film, we could have done the fire as a CGI overlay, but we thought, no, we'll use yellow cellophane. We'll do it the hard way. And the cigarette smoke is cotton wool. All the tears in the film are sexual lubricant. So everything you see is real.
Very resourcul.
But audiences really appreciate that. They really do.
His panel is R-rated too. But
it is an R-rated film, yeah. But I think when the audience sees the fingerprints on the clay, they know that what they're looking at is tangible, it's tactile. Of course, AI can replicate it, but it is synthetic. What we're doing is real, and I think that's what audiences are appreciating more than ever, which is why at the end of the film we put the sentence on the last end of the credit roll, "This film was made by human beings." And I did that as a bit of a joke,
right.
But now it's become quite precedent.
Well, so this is a bit of a redundant question, but I'm going to ask. I know this is a very personal story to you, but is there a particular scene in the film that is very special to you?
Yeah, look, I think as a writer, I think it's our duty to push the boundaries, to present the audience with challenging subject matter. So it's about risk-taking. I know when I wrote this screenplay, I put in the gay conversion sequence, and I was nervous, the Australian taxpayer investors were nervous, but I felt like it needed to be told. And I think, again, with animation, as I think Gint said, that we can do anything we want. We get to play God. And I love watching animation that is pushing the boundaries. And I think animation is really evolving it's really growing up, I think. And the fact that the nominees this year are so diverse, we come from all different backgrounds, but we celebrate the art form, and it is an art form. And it's showing that, particularly for emerging filmmakers, you can tell any story you want, and the best story to tell is something personal because you know it better than anyone else. So I think really it is all about writing. I remember at film school my lecturer said, I don't care if you animate 2D, 3D, computer, sand, plasticine. She said, all I care about is your story, because the audience will always forgive bad editing, bad music, bad cinematography, but they will never forgive a bad story. So focus on that, and the rest will follow, hopefully.
That is so true.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. And wishing you much luck. this
Thank you.
coming Sunday night, and yeah.
I've got to lose 5 kilos by Sunday.
Okay, on that note, we will leave.
Thank you for having
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the next film up, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. Enjoy.
I think that's Feathers McGraw, Chief. They're trying to stop Feathers McGraw.
Feathers McGraw? Don't be ridiculous. He's banged up in the zoo. That's just an innocent nun out for a pleasure cruise.
I just think maybe Wallace has been unfairly portrayed as a crazed inventor.
Oh, this'll work a treat. Huh?
To a certain extent.
What the? What's he done with my vintage boot collection? Okay, Gromit, let's give those gnomes a good reboot up the backside. Bullseye!
Reset mode activated.
It's working, lad. Give it more welly. Take that. Hoodlums!
Reset mode activated. Reset mode activated.
This has gone far enough. Chief Inspector Mac, all units pursue and arrest Wallace. Oh!
Right.
All right.
So I said earlier that one of the perks about being a governor is being able to do this every year and have wonderful fellowship. But this year I get to finally meet Nick Park.
Yes, for sure. Welcome, Nick. And
Yeah, see?
And he's bringing our wonderful puppets. And I heard that these are production puppets, correct?
Yeah, these are the actual puppets from the movie, yeah.
Wow.
So great. Well, congrats.
Hold the mic at the same time. Hi, everyone. Hi.
I'm going to turn my chair just a little bit. So you're no stranger to the Oscar stage. You've won 4 Academy Awards.
Yeah. Thanks. I should explain 3 of them were for short animation and 1 for feature animation.
You know, the Oscars are all the same size.
Yeah.
That is true. An Oscar is an Oscar.
An Oscar is an Oscar. And, you know, so do you have co-director on this one, Merlin Crossingham? Can you talk about your collaboration with him?
Yeah. Well, I've always collaborated on all the films I've directed alongside somebody else. You know, Chicken Run was with Peter Lord. Curse of the Were-Rabbit was Steve Box. And this one, Merlin has been like creative head of the brand for quite a few, and has done quite a few commercials and all kinds of projects. And when I was thinking of who to direct alongside or to join me directing, yeah, Merlin was an obvious choice. He was always a brilliant animator.
Super cool.
Cool. So this is a sequel, right?
Well,
kind of a sequel because
yeah.
it's characters back. So sorry, maybe I should not say it's sequel, but I'm just curious. So what was the origin of wanting to tell the story?
Well, it started actually. Feathers McGraw here. He was a kind of late-breaking idea. I was actually thinking of just another 30-minute Wallace and Gromit short, actually, and it was an idea. This was like when we did Curse of the Were-Rabbit, 2005, 6.
Oh wow!
And I just had this idea about what if Wallace invents a robot gnome to help Gromit in the garden with garden chores, and it was like great fun. But there was every time I pitched it, it was like something like who's motivating when the gnomes go wrong, you know, as they obviously would. What's motivating, and you know, there's some menacing or sinister force missing, which often is in a Wallace and Gromit film. and it was like when I came back to the project years later, I was just tinkering around with it, and there was Feathers McGraw on the shelf, and like smiling, you know, saying, me, sort of thing. And it was like, seems obvious now, but it was, a lot of people had asked if Feathers was returning, but I'd sort of dismissed it because there was no good idea. And this was like, so we didn't set out to do a sequel as such. That's the only reason I say that. It was more, Feathers was like a fantastic like opportunity or a great story solution, really.
Well, thanks for mentioning Feathers and bringing him out. The thing about Feathers and even Gromit doesn't even have a mouth. And very often animation is dependent on a lot of broad action and huge takes and squash and stretch. And I love the bravery, and I always have with Gromit, but he and Feathers get a lot of emotion and expression, and through a lot of subtlety. Can you kind of talk about what I think is just a really brave take, as far as I'm concerned, as an animator?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'll start with Gromit because the way he came about was because the first Wallace and Gromit was my student film. It was a Grand Day Out, which I made at the National Film and TV School. And thanks. And then Aardman helped me finish the film, so I moved to Aardman, and that's how I started with Aardman. But I was at film school. I was trying to animate Gromit on one of the very first shots when he's building the rocket, but I was planning a mouth. I even recorded a voice. But I couldn't reach. It was really awkward. So it was kind of out of laziness, really. But I just started moving his brow up and down. It was a lot easier. And I just suddenly realized, everyone reacted to it like, wow, he's suddenly human and got feelings and thoughts. And suddenly he becomes the more human character.
Oh, wow.
And that's how Gromit was born, really. And I believe out of clay, he may not have happened because it was that ability to move and tweak and just put in lots of little human kind of nuanced expressions that was the power of simplicity is what it's all about. And Feathers even more is about that.
Yeah,
because this is, as you know, this is the original. This is the actual production puppet here or model figure. And he has nothing. He doesn't even have eyebrows.
Yeah.
So you've got to use all your resources in cinema, really. That he just comes on, he just stops, he turns, and he blinks. Maybe that's all he can do.
It's
to
so
indicate
cool
that he's thinking. And so you use the music and the camera. And,
So you kids and you younger animators out there, laziness is the mother of invention.
I'm not sure about that.
I'm just kidding. Totally kidding.
It's true. Oh, use.
But there's a skill to laziness. There's actually talent to laziness, right?
It's kind of because because we don't have CG. It's not CG. So therefore, we have to think in limited ways of how to do things, and so you use your limits to an advantage. I guess is what I'm saying.
So
it's wonderful.
So I know it's been 20 years since the first Wallace and Gromit film, right?
Mm.
So how has...
Sorry, since the first one.
First one, right? It says first, your first one was released in 2005.
1989. Oh, the feature. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, feature, right?
Yes.
So that's 20 years ago. Has technology influenced how you animate, or have you pretty much stayed the same in terms of how you make these movies and animate?
It's not. I mean, all the animation in this movie is these figures. It's real figures, and they're partly made of clay, and I guess the materials have evolved a bit because having Wallace's legs, for example, as silicone, make the animator's job a lot quicker. But they're not re-sculpting the legs every single frame, and so forth. But the actual it is stop motion animation still, but we use technology in terms of anything we cannot do with plasticine or puppets. We like, for example, in the chase with the barges chasing, there's a lot of water, and we had to work closely with the digital team to create water that fitted the stop motion world. Otherwise, it would have seemed odd, like too realistic. So they had some software where they could like take the motion blur out, for example, and then it looked too like so we put a little bit back in. So it was great to have that technology to get it to fit the stop motion.
Yeah, well, my whole career has been done doing animation effects, and so I was super duper impressed with the water, and I'm definitely aware that another institution that hands out awards for animation also nominated you all for Best Visual Effects for this film. So congratulations! Really, really cool stuff.
Okay, thanks.
And really to be able to use technology to really, I think, preserve the techniques, right? Using digital, but preserving the look of stop motion, I think I think what you did is formidable, because it's so easy to make it look digital, and we've seen
Yeah, in fact, in a way, we try to resist it, because even the model makers and the guys who make the whole teams of puppet makers, and it can be a natural thing that when you think of I'll do my best, is to make it smooth and slick. And we do resist that, to try and keep the fingerprints. It's part of what it is, and I think it helps people relate to it, because everybody's made clay models at some point, so everyone knows what it is, and therefore it's like doable. I could do this kind of thing.
Yeah, except not as good as you do.
Sure.
You'd have a go.
But so I've enjoyed all the adventures of Wallace and Gromit, and one of the things I just love about you as a filmmaker is just how well you nail genre. Curse of the Were Rabbit is like just a wonderful horror film. It delivers it's just completely delightful as a genre piece. And I did notice, and maybe somebody in the audience or you will correct me, but this seemed like one of the first ones where Wallace seems to learn something.
Yeah, that's usually the joke, is that because your character's meant to have an arc,
right.
And the joke is always that Wallace doesn't learn a single thing. But I guess because there was so much at stake in this one, because Wallace's inventing was causing Gromit a lot of misery, so we had to have him give something. So we did have him realize, that his tech is really what's getting in the way of the relationship, and that was part of the whole message, really, on the warnings about tech.
Oh, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to meet you finally and visit with you, and congratulations.
Oh, it's lovely to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And good luck on Sunday night.
And enjoy this clip of the Wild Robot.
Yes.
I can't fly!
You don't need to.
Don't be afraid.
Whoa! Don't you need that?
I have everything I need. All power to exterior.
You call yourselves animals? Let's go!
For the island! Arise!
Cool.
Hey, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I get to sit on this side.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. switching seats. Okay.
You change it up.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to welcome Chris Sanders and Jeff Herman. Welcome.
Congratulations.
Congrats. Congrats.
Good to see you.
You have a camera with you.
I carry it with me everywhere, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Your film is visually stunning. Love that painting look. Can you talk a little bit about the whole reason you created this look and what inspired you?
Yeah. So when I read Peter Brown's novel, the imagery that was coming to mind was like very Tyrus Wong, like Bambi kind of sophistication. And I guess it was like primarily it was a concern that because of the characters, all these animals and a robot, that if it was done in a more like traditional CG style, that it would feel too young. And I was very concerned that anybody be interested in seeing this film and that it would compel people, just like the imagery would compel them to come and see it. And I think that part of the reason that it resonates the way it does is the look. I think it's part of the equation. It's the music, it's the dialogue, but I think that look, it did a lot for us. The thing that was surprising, and I didn't expect, it's a very impressionistic look. They're like flowers are just little like dots floating. They don't have stems. That's very, very loose. The thing that I didn't expect was that it felt more real in some ways. I think, for example, the fur on the animals, it's all matted looking because it's brushstrokes. It's all gathered. And that has that has an overall effect that it's hard to quantify. But on screen, when we had this high wide shot of a waterfall, and the water even has a painted surface to it, and that's when it really came together to me. Like I thought, like this feels more immediate, more real in its own way, because of that look. And it was just an unexpected, I think, effect that came out of it.
Did you do a lot of testing to get this look, or was this?
It was a very methodical process of DreamWorks had made some huge advances visually in getting a more illustrated look on screen with Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, and with Bad Guys. And we wanted to go even further, more soft, more painterly. So they'd made these wonderful advances, and we were just leveraging off of that, really.
It's really cool. Looking at the film, and I agree with everything Jinko said about how beautiful and engaging this look is, and and do you think, because it's been out there for a while and you've seen people have been reacting to it quite a bit, do you think part of the painterly look and it just invites people to fill in more gaps as an audience member, that they're not just kind of going like, oh, that's wood and that's fur and that's metal, that they're actually kind of bringing more of themselves to it and kind of I don't know, enjoy.
Yeah. I mean,
how do you feel? A little more handmade.
We are sort of circling the same thing here.
Yeah, we have been, and it's the movie and the story in the book is so emotional, and goes to such a variety of places emotionally, and there's heartbreak, there's tragedy, and all these things. So we were hoping for the visual look to complement that in some way, to also elicit an emotional reaction. And so we kept gravitating towards the Viz Dev pieces that were more impressionistic, and because it kind of went along with what we were going for narratively.
Yeah, and it did. I think we're kind of saying the same thing. There is, I think, when you don't, it's easy on the eyes. There's a lack of detail. And I think that can tire you out if there's a lot of detail all the time. I know that like when it comes to CG in general, we're all working very hard, no matter which film it is, to keep the audience refreshed. And through cutting and just the pacing of things. But I think the look, we're always looking for a way to keep the audience, I think, refreshed and engaged. And like too much detail, I think, actually is more work, I think, to track.
Yeah.
There's also a desire to get it more back towards what animation's roots are. Like all of us, Chris and I both grew up in hand-drawn animation days. A lot of our team did as well. And so to be able to kind of push the technology back in the direction of where we came from and kind of honor that handcrafted look was something we hoped to achieve from the start.
Oh yeah, I'm from those hand-drawn days too, baby.
Yeah, and I remember.
I mean, that's the thing about this impressionistic look that has, I can say pencil mileage to you, and you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
But yeah, it still has a very handcrafted feel, but it has a lot of detail too. But like you said, not too much. So Lupita Nyong'o is the center of a very, very wide and diverse cast. You have neither her or Pedro Pascal are speaking in their natural voices. How did you arrive at your cast and these voices?
It's a cast that kind of rivals any live action cast we felt, and we're so fortunate and lucky, and still kind of pinching ourselves that we were able to assemble this group of people for this film. But it was a collaborative effort from the start between ourselves and the studio and our casting director Christy Soper, really looking for unique voices, of which all of them possess obviously strong acting abilities. Strangely, Lupita and Pedro had never done a feature animated film before. They'd done voiceover work in varying degrees for other things, but never to this, extent. And actually, Pedro is doing his own voice, and that was kind of the breakthrough with him. I
stand corrected.
A lot. Well, when you see him on screen, his roles that he chooses or that he's in most of the time are very, very stoic, very tough, very very few words. But if you know him in real life or see him on talk shows or whatever, he's very affable and goofy and silly. And that was the Fink we wanted. That was who we felt our character was. And it took some convincing of Pedro, to get comfortable just being himself behind the microphone. And at the end of it, he kind of expressed his gratitude for the fact that this role is probably closest to who he is as a person than anything else he's ever done.
Yeah, there was a sequence. It's not in the film anymore, and as we all know, in animation, like they're like in story, things come and go. There was a bit that I wrote where Roz has this little tablet that she can deploy, and I thought it would be funny if, like, once Fink figures out that she is his ticket to dominating the island and having a life of comfort, that maybe he would try to supercharge her. And so once he got the tablet, there were accessories you could order. And I thought, wouldn't it be funny if he was ordering accessories? And the line was, ooh, can we get that? But when he read it, Pedro said, ooh, can we get that? And he read it like a little kid sitting in a grocery cart, pointing at something in a grocery store. Like, he had this really young take on it. And that for me became like a touchstone of his character. Like, that's Fink. He's more vulnerable, I think, than you would expect when you first meet him.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, so jumping more into working with your cast, how closely did you work with Lupita in creating Roz, the character that really transforms into the film? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can't put too fine a point on what Lupita did to create her own character. We had several conversations before she committed, because she wanted to be sure that we were going to be collaborating on the film. And we met for the first time in person in New York City, where we did our first recording session. And we just talked it was a 3-hour session, and we talked for over an hour before we did anything with a microphone, just going through every aspect of Roz. Because Roz has a very particular architecture in her thinking. And there have to be these gaps. And if we don't have the gaps, the film isn't going to work, because she has to have a lack of programming in these really critical areas, forcing her then to go off program, which is a big no-no for her, but she does it anyway because she's putting a premium on Bright Bill's life, so she's willing to go off program. So figuring out the architecture was what Lupita took the lead in. And she questioned so many things in the best way possible. And I would rewrite on the spot, but I never left a recording session without my homework. And I would redo things and redo things through the whole film. And that was an ongoing process. We really never stopped doing that through the entire length of the production.
Well, that's also the great process about animation, right? Because we can do that, unlike live action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. The slowness is the strength of it. I remember we were working on How to Train Your Dragon, and Roger Deakins, the cinematographer, was helping out. And at one point he said, "Oh, I have to go and shoot a James Bond film. I'm going to miss so much." And I said, "Oh, no. The car will be right where you parked it."
We'll be right here. So Roz, like Feathers McGraw and Gromit, also doesn't have a mouth, but also is quite an expressive character. And that's really, yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the animation process and creating her and the decision
Sure.
to
I mean, certainly
lean into that?
Lupita certainly owns a piece of that with the vocal evolution that she kind of delivers throughout the course of the film. But our animators also carry a lot of that as well, and it's a performance that's heavily, relies upon pantomime, and body language is key in kind of helping to help us get to some of those emotions that we're looking for. And then our team really looked at a lot of the silent greats, Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, and referenced those actors in their filmmakers early on to kind of study how the posing and the timing and all of that kind of goes along with not having moving facial features, or in that case dialogue. And we actually have long stretches where Roz says very little as well, where her animation really has to carry a lot. And then there's another team of artists on our show responsible for the lights around her eyes and the lights overall that emanate from the seams in her design, which also animate according to what she's doing, what she's feeling, how much power she has. And there's a whole array of effects built into her that's quite sophisticated that kind of add to her overall performance.
That was really cool. Thank you both
thank
so
you so
much.
much.
And,
Yeah.
Thank you. And congratulations. What a wonderful film.
Thank you.
And good luck Sunday
Good
night.
to see you again.
Good to see you.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, so we need to.
Yeah, we need to close it out,
Yeah,
huh?
we do. We do.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming tonight and joining this feature animation panel.
Yeah, and there is more Academy Museum Oscar nominee spotlights this week, so enjoy, and it was great seeing everybody. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming out tonight.